Hello students, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. In today's video, we are going to discuss about the controversy that has recently erupted along the India-Bangladesh border. In this context, Bangladesh and especially Bangladeshi border guards have objected to the fencing that was being carried out by the border security forces of India along the West Bengal border, more specifically along the border lying in the Malda district of West Bengal. So, what was the reason or rationale behind such objection? What are the agreements that guides the fencing along the Indo-Bangladesh border? And what has been the earlier cases where such situations have panned out? Let us try to understand this in more detail. Now, if we talk about the current situation, it has been highlighted because recently New Delhi, the Ministry of External Affairs, it has to summon the Bangladeshi Acting High Commissioner in India over the security measures at the border, including on fencing, where the objections has been raised. And this has come after the similar kind of step were taken by the Bangladeshi government as well, where India's High Commissioner to Dhaka, Pranay Verma, he was called upon, summoned, and where the Bangladeshi government has expressed a deep concern over the recent activities of the BSF, again indirectly hinting about the fencing being done at the Indo-Bangladesh border. So let us try to understand first of all the background of this entire issue. Now recently the border guarding forces of Bangladesh, or also called as border guards Bangladesh, they try to obstruct the construction of a barbed wire fence. Try to understand, this is how generally the barbed wire fence look like. Basically you have the fence and then at the top you have the concertina wires that basically act as a what you can say obstructing mechanism if someone try to illegally cross into or exit the border. And this was related to the West Bengal's Malda district where the border construction was in progress. Now it is not for the first time such situations has evolved. Overall, if you talk about the fencing along the Indo-Bangladesh border, it has always been a long-standing bone of contention between two countries. However, due to the friendly approach of Sheikh Hasina's government, the what I can call as the fencing was not highlighted that much. However, in the August 2024, just few months after the fall of the Sheikh Hasina government, similar kind of obstruction and objections were raised by the border guards of Bangladesh in the Cooch Behar district of West Bengal also, where the border fencing were being carried out. So two recent incidents happened, one in the Malda, another few months back in the Cooch Behar. Now this becomes interesting because if you talk about the international land border of India, it shares the longest border with the Bangladesh. And if you look at this particular map here, total 5 states of India, that is West Bengal, then you have Assam, then you have Meghalaya, Tripura and Mizoram. These are the 5 states that share a long border with the Bangladesh. The total length of India and Bangladesh land border stands up to 4,156 kilometers, and it is mainly to ensure peace and security along the border. The fencing has been done routinely by the security forces of India. Now, what exactly has happened in Malda? Let us try to understand slightly in more detail. Now, as per the statement given by the DIG of BSF, who was in charge of South Bengal frontier, he is also the spokesperson of BSF, NK Pandey. In an interview to the newspaper, he has said that our counterpart, that is referring to the border guards of Bangladesh, had raised some objection. We replied to them, construction was on, and that situation was normal. That means basically he has given a sense of what you can call as calm prevailing along the border. However, at the same time, in the social medias, many videos were circulating where it was seen that villagers along the Indo-Bangladesh border from the West Bengal region, they were raising slogans and they were trying to support BSF and the construction work, the fencing work that was going on along the border. Now, Bangladesh border guard attempted to stop them from erecting the 4-foot high barbed wire fence. More precisely, villagers said that the fencing was to stop cattle straying in from Bangladesh and grazing on their crops. So basically, villagers have been supporting fencing for a long period of time, and that is exactly the video you can see that has been circulating on the social media. Now, if we try to understand about the border guidelines that guard about the fencing or overall management of the border cooperation agreement along the border. So it was signed between both countries somewhere back in the 1975, somewhere you can say 4 years after Bangladesh was liberated. Now, as per this particular agreement, both countries agreed that none of them would build any kind of defense structure. Now, the terminology here is very, very important. No defense structure can be constructed within 150 yards from the zero line or the international boundary between India and Bangladesh by either side. Now the problem here is the interpretation of these guidelines. If we talk about the current fencing that is being done, also called as SRF, that is single row fencing. Now India does not consider SRF or single row fencing or wire fencing as any kind of defense structure, because it does not have any kind of defense role, defense utility. And that is why, as per India, there should not be any objection on erecting a wire fencing within 150 yards, because it does not violate border guidelines. The problem is that countries that is such as Bangladesh and Pakistan both have classified wire fencing as a defense structure. So as per their interpretation, they think that the construction of such fencing or erection of such fencing is nothing but the violation of border guideline. So interpretation is the big problem here. Apart from that, we talk about this also is something that we can consider as a legacy of the partition that was given, we can say, as a unfortunate gift by the British. So if we talk about the West Bengal and Bangladesh border, it has a total length of 2,217 kilometers. And several villages are there along this border which fall within the fencing line. And that is where the security of the border or ensuring that trans-border crimes do not take place along this border becomes very, very difficult. And to basically control these trans-border crimes, wire fencing has been taken as a resort by the Indian security forces. Sometimes villages and houses even stand precisely on the international border. So these are some of the issues that we are facing along the border areas. However, as far as the India-Bangladesh guidelines are concerned, it clearly states that whenever any village or houses fall within the fencing line, gates has to be provided. For example, if we talk about, suppose that this is the fencing line that we are talking about. So if suppose this is the fences and if there is a village situated along the fences, so as you can see from this given diagram or given this image, a gate has to be provided by both the countries that can allow access along the border. So basically it says that wherever villages and houses fall within the fencing line, gates are provided at specific places to facilitate the movement of the resident. Now when the gates will be opened, what will be its timing and all things, that has to be decided by the BSF with the consultation of local villagers and the local administration as well. However, it also is given in the what you can call as the BSF rules that in case of emergencies, there are standing instructions to BSF soldiers to open these gates, basically based on the current situation that they might deem fit, okay, or they think it's fit to open the gate or not. Now the dispute also is basically risen on the two front, or many experts have argued that Bangladesh objection can be understood from the two approaches or two-prong approaches. First argument, I already told you, that 1975 agreement, where the single row fence is considered as a defense structure and is not permitted as per the Bangladesh's interpretation. Second argument is also because Bangladesh objects that if the fencing is created along the border, it can cause inconvenience to the resident along the international border. However, BSF has given a counter argument where it has said that if we talk about the single row fencing being done at the border, it is not to cause any kind of disturbances or inconveniences to the resident. Largely, it is to ensure that animals do not move across the international border. And second, also the trans-border crimes can be controlled. And this fencing does not have any defense potential and does not pose any kind of threat to Bangladesh. And since Bangladesh does not have to worry about it, so rather than that, India should be allowed to continue fencing along the border. Now, interestingly, Bangladesh also has raised objection to the smart fencing that was proposed and is being implemented in many areas along the international border of India. This was a project that was proposed somewhere we can say 5 years back by the name of CIBMS, that is a Comprehensive Integrated Border Management System. As you know that India is suffering the problem of manpower shortage in many of its border guarding forces. To supplement and complement their effort, India has taken a refuse to the smart fencing, where there has been a proposal to put cameras, security cameras along the border, ground-based radars, then we have the laser sensors and all that. So all these will help in more effective guarding of the border. However, Bangladesh has objected because it says that such structures also are lying within 100 yards of the international border, and by this they alleges that India can look inside the territory of Bangladesh, which they do not want. On the other hand, Indian security forces have said that it is through these areas where the smart fencing is being proposed is where 60% of trans-border crimes are being conducted. So if there is no fencing, then obviously the increase in such kind of crimes, specifically related to different kind of trafficking, whether it is the human trafficking, narco trafficking, animal trafficking, and wildlife trafficking also we can say, can be increased. And also the and where villages are on the international boundary, that is also where we are seeing the high number of trans-border crimes. So basically, to prevent such crimes, the smart fencing or any kind of fencing, for example, single row fencing, becomes very, very important. Now, we have discussed in initial part of video that the total length of Indo-Bangladesh border stands today at 4,156 km. Now, as per the recent report of Ministry of Home Affairs, out of these 4,156 km, total 3,141 km of Bangladesh, India-Bangladesh border has been already fenced. As per the report given by the central government in the Supreme Court of India in the year 2023, it has stated that the problem Indian defense forces are facing is in the West Bengal, where border fencing projects are hindered, mainly due to the non-cooperation from the state government of West Bengal, and second also because of the land acquisition has not basically has happened because of the objections raised by the farmers, as it will lead to the loss of agricultural land for them if the border fencing is done there. And if we talk about the entire West Bengal itself, 81.5% of entire West Bengal Bangladesh border has already been fenced. In the other area, the work is ongoing, about which the recent objections have been raised by the Bangladesh. If we talk about the entire border of India and Bangladesh, out of 4,156 km, about 900 kilometers of border that traverses across several of these 5 states are of riverine nature. What it means is basically there is no land border, the border is marked by the flow of the river. And interestingly, these rivers are also not flowing in a fixed course, they keep on changing and shifting its course from time to time based on the amount of water and the deposition of sediments and all. So obviously in these areas fencing is not possible. That means 900 kilometers of border cannot be fenced, and it is in these areas, riverine areas, it is the water wing of the BSF that has the responsibility to ensure that any kind of illegal movement and trafficking or crimes do not take place. So in essence, what we can say, 4,156 minus 900 kilometers, that means 3,256 kilometer of border is there is a possibility of fencing, out of which 3,141 kilometer have been fenced. So a very small strip of the border, we can say almost we can consider it to be 5 to 8% of the border that is remain to be fenced, where the work is ongoing. So this is all about this particular video. I hope you got the idea of the agreement that governed the Indo-Bangladesh border and the fencing of the border, and what is the current issue and why objection has been raised with Bangladesh. So if you like the video, please ensure to hit the like button, share it with the fellow aspirants, as well as subscribe to our channel for more such helpful content. Thank you very much.